Hi, and welcome to the video. Today I want to talk about the 8 mistakes parents make the most as they try and help their high school kids get recruited by college coaches. So, the college that your athlete chooses is going to be one of the biggest decisions of their life. After who they choose to marry, what college they go to and what they decide to major in is huge. It can decide what their future profession is going to be, what their network is going to be like, how much debt they might have. So making sure that you engage in this college recruiting process and understand what it takes to get recruited to the right colleges is critical. Because this is what we don't want to happen. And then we've all probably seen this, right? We saw an athlete that was killer. He was amazing on the field. She was the fastest on the team. She was the highest scorer. But we see athletes all the time that are high performers, but they don't get a college scholarship. And we wonder why. It's like, what happened? Or what can happen is they get a scholarship and they only last a semester or two and they end up coming back home because the school they chose wasn't a good fit for them, which is a total waste of time, right? You don't want to send your athlete off and put all that time and effort into getting recruited just to find out it's not the right school. And then you're left kind of scrambling, trying to get them scholarships or playing opportunities with other schools. The goal is to try and choose the right school the first time. But the recruiting process can be so hard to navigate. We thought we were doing everything right. Even though both of my girls both were offered college scholarships, which really happened because I decided to step in and really engage with the process. But we thought we were doing everything right. We went to the showcases, we went to the camps, but my kids weren't getting noticed. They were high scorers, captain of the team. It's like, what gives? Why is my kid getting left out? And we would hear about other girls getting offers or getting recruited. When you're a parent, you don't always know what to believe and what you shouldn't believe from other parents. But I found the recruiting process very frustrating because mostly I just didn't know. There was just so much I didn't know. And, on top of that, our club team had a workshop where they talked about recruiting and what to do and what not to do. And I thought that was going to be enough, but it wasn't. It wasn't even close to all the information I needed to really take the driver's seat with recruiting and make sure my girls got recruited. So here's one of the really most important components of the recruiting process between you and your athletes. You have to have a clear direction of what you want, right? It's so important that you both get on the same page. So for me as a parent, my big goal for my girls was to not have any student loan debt. I wanted them to be able to attend a school and not have to take out any loans. But for the girls, they were like, you know what? I only want to play D1. That's it. I'm not interested in going anywhere else. I want to go to a major school. And another part for me was I wanted them kind of close by because I wanted to be able to go to their games and watch still. I mean, it was something we'd been doing as a family for years. So getting clear between all of you of the direction and what your goals are is really important. The true story, there was a family and a girl played soccer, and as she was growing up and she became a junior and a senior, they were trying to help her get recruited. But at the end, she told them, you know what, I just want to go to the University of Arkansas because that's where my friends are going. Well, that's all should have been discussed beforehand, and that would have helped narrow down what it is that they were going to accomplish together. So make sure you have that conversation, whether maybe they want a lot of playing time. Maybe there's a specific degree that they want, and there are only certain schools that have that degree, right? So make sure you have clear direction and goals combined together so that you're all on the same page of what it is you're going to be pursuing. Oh, and understand the stats. Initially when Alyssa was saying, I just want to play D1, I was like, okay, she was a really top player. She was amazing, and I was confident that we could do that. But once we dug into the stats, the number of athletes that get D1 scholarships isn't that much. It's not that they're non-existent, about 14,000, but out of the 8 million plus high school players, only about 9% and 2% get scholarships. Only 9% of that 2% go on to get a D1 scholarship, which isn't a whole lot, right? But, it's still thousands and thousands and thousands of players, which is great. But you need to just be aware of what those stats are so that you're not pigeonholing yourself into something that may not be attainable for your athlete. Limited support. The workshop we went to about getting recruited, a lot of the coaches were saying that they really want the athlete to take the lead in the recruiting process. They want the athlete to be the one to make the calls and send the letters and do all these things, which is fine and good. But I promise you, those kids that are getting, especially the D1 recruiting done for them and getting those scholarships, are getting help from their parents, right? We have connections, we have the pocketbooks, we have so much that we can help these kids with. So don't fall for that when they say, oh, I just want to hear from the athlete. Absolutely, they need to be reaching out to the coaches, and the coaches need to be reaching out to the athletes. But behind the scenes, as parents, we have an important support role to play. So again, we were told, kind of parent, they don't really want to hear from the parents. Well, they don't have to hear from you. Let's be clear. They don't have to hear from you. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the background to support these players. And they're busy. These kids are busy. They're in school, they're in competitive sports, they're in study programs, they're in all kinds of things. Maybe they're working. So, you really have to invest in this process as a family so that to make sure that you're getting the recruiting necessary and the scholarships that you're looking for. Not being prepared for showcases and camps. We really learned this the hard way with Alyssa because, I would sign her up for showcases and camps and she would go and she would be doing great. Well, I'll never forget a camp that we went to. It was an overnight camp and 2 nights, I want to say. And there were hundreds of girls there. And the coach, this was a D1 school, the coach had clearly already identified who it was that he was going to be looking at that weekend. So there were maybe 6, 7 girls that the coach was talking to, introducing to the rest of his team, kind of getting them assigned with his teams to help them around and show them around and help them feel at home. While the other hundreds of girls, no joke, there were a ton of girls there, were just kind of hoping that they were going to get some time with the coach. And it just wasn't realistic. And I wish I had known before then that those girls, those 5 or 6 that were on the coach's radar, they had already reached out to the coach and had already made time to set up time to be with him, to talk to him, to talk to the players. And that camp was worthwhile for them. But it wasn't for the rest of the girls. It was really, I felt like, kind of a money grab in a lot of ways. And you don't want that to happen to you. So before you go to a camp, please make sure that you've reached out to the coach. Hopefully you can get a meeting set up to do so. So another thing that I really recommend when you're going to these camps is make sure that you're wearing the right thing, right? That you know who to contact and who to take with you. All of those things are important when you're really putting a lot of investment and time into going to these camps and showcases. You don't want to just show up. In another video I talk about your player cards, your printed cards and QR codes and all these things that you can do to leverage to really get noticed. So another thing that's important is to understand your kid's coaching style. I did know Alyssa's because she's not the kind of kid that if you yell at her, all of a sudden she's performing out of the blue and everything is great and she's scoring like crazy. That wasn't my kid, right? But I remember listening to a coach one time, and if you know who this coach is, let me know because I don't know who it was. But he said great coaches know how to motivate players. Some players you need to pat their ass. Some players you need to kiss their ass. And some players, to get the best out of them, you need to kick their ass. So understanding which coaching style is best for your kid will go a long way towards choosing the right coach and school long term for them. Because what you don't want to do is have a kid show up and go to a school and the coach is more of a kick your ass type of guy when really your kid just needs to be motivated a little bit and then they're become a high performer. So pay attention when you're watching games or you're watching film. How does that coach engage with his players? What is his coaching style? And make sure that's a good match for your athlete. not understanding the recruiting needs. Hopefully coaches don't just let you show up on the campus to do a tour or to do a visit, and they don't need a player like your kid. What you don't want to happen, you went to a school and he was looking for goalies, right? But that's really all he needed for that freshman year that was coming up. He didn't need a forward. And he actually, what he wanted was for Alyssa to sit out a year, wait until he did need someone in her position, which would start her sophomore year in school, which wasn't what we wanted. That wasn't something that was an option for us. But that's where we just didn't do our research. We didn't really ask, okay, how many forwards do you have? Do you have, two that are freshmen, two that are juniors, and two that are seniors? Because if that's the case, he's probably going to not need your kid in the position that they currently are. So it is best for your kid to be able to play multiple positions on the field, whether it's football or soccer or what have you. So having multiple positions is good, but do your research before you go and reach out to the coach in the school and look at the player roster and see if there's going to be potential for your kid's position to be needed at the school when your kid is graduating. Understanding the role of coaches. That's mistake number 7. Even though the club coaches that we had played a role, and they play an important role in the recruiting process, they're not the only role. And I'm here to tell you that as a parent, your role is most important. So don't backseat yourself and wait for the coaches to take the lead, because in many cases they have multiple teams. They got their own kids that they're trying to get recruited. They've already got a lot going on. So, although the high school coach, the club coach, the college coaches, they all play a role and they're very important, and a lot of them, they talk right to each other. They network with each other, which is understandable. But understanding their role and how they're going to be contributing to the recruiting process is critical. And then knowing the rules, right? There's NCAA rules, there's NAIA rules, and they're all different, right? The student eligibility may be different. The timing may be different. Each division has its own set of rules. And when we were first going through the recruiting process, we knew there were rules. We really were just leaning on the college coaches in particular to make sure that we were within scope of what the rules were. And I wish we hadn't done that. I wish we had done more research to understand the rules, especially between the divisions. So I wanted to put up here on screen the different divisions and how it all kind of lays out. Because the NCAA, the National Collegiate Athletic Association, has 3 divisions, right? But what gets overlooked a lot of times is NAIA, which is where Alyssa ended up. And they have Division 1 and Division 2. And then junior colleges have divisions as well. And when you can really think about all of the options that are there for your athlete to take advantage of at different collegiate levels, there's a lot of scholarship money out there. So my goal is to really help you understand the differences between all 3 and how for your athlete, an NAIA may be a much better fit for them than a D1 NCAA. So in summary, recruiting truly is a team sport. It takes the players, it takes the parents, it takes the coaches, even teachers can be helpful in this entire process. And the more you know about how to leverage all of your network to get recruited, the better off you're going to be. Okay, so what I don't want is for you to make a lot of the same mistakes that we did in the recruiting process, because there were a lot of questions we didn't ask, there was research we didn't do, and we wasted a lot of time and money pursuing things, especially camps and showcases, when really it wasn't the goal or the direction that we were wanting to go in. We just didn't know any better. So we want to help you win. Let us help you take your power back and take charge of the recruiting process. It's not something where you have to take a back seat. You can truly be proactive as the parent and the athlete to make things happen for you. So you can reduce the anxiety and stress that you might have around recruiting and really save a lot of time and money when you know the rules and you know how to prepare yourself and your athlete for certain events and timings with the right player cards, with going to the right camps and having the right plan. You know, they say all the time, plan to fail, fail to plan, fail to plan, plan to fail. And this is extremely true in the college recruiting process. You really have to put all your cards out on the table, determine which direction you want to go, and then take that direction. Because time is limited, right? That's why we created the recruiting masterclass. It's to really help you understand the direction that you want to take, ask yourself the right questions, do the right research, prepare for camps correctly, download checklists. We have everything you need to put your best foot forward, to put your athlete's best foot forward. Because again, the recruiting process and getting college scholarships is one of the most important things that's going to happen to your kid. So choosing the right schools, the right coaches, having the right program together, the right plan together is what you need. Most importantly, what you must have in order to get the right things in place for your athlete. This program will help give you peace of mind. I know when my kids were being recruited and there for a long time not recruited, it was very stressful, you know, especially when you're hearing other people's kids getting recruited and yours isn't, and you don't understand. You just don't know the game, and I can help you with that. There are so many options for colleges and athletes, high school athletes. There's so much that you can be doing, and you don't want to look back and wish you had just invested a little bit of time and money into having a better understanding of the college recruiting process and how you as a parent and a player can take charge and take the lead in this process so that you can truly understand and get where you want to be. So take the master class, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you.